Padres Rewind on the Padres Radio Network.
Stephen Kolek was outstanding to start the game yesterday. 6 up, 6 down in the first 2 innings. He didn't allow a hit through 3 innings, but then the Nationals scored 4 runs against Kolek in the top of the 4th inning. In the bottom half, left-hander Mitchell Parker took the mound after throwing 3 scoreless innings to begin his night. Manny Machado led off.
Here's the 0-2, and he swings, lines it to deep center field. Young is back, twisting around, looking up, gonna go! Line drive, home run to center field for Manny Machado. Number 13 for number 13. And the Pods are on the board here in the bottom of the 4th.
Career hit 1990. A bullet to dead center.
That's all the Padres got in the 4th inning. Fast forward to the bottom of the 6th. Parker still on the mound. The Padres had 2 on and 2 out for Gavin Shildt.
1-2 the count. Here's the pitch. Shildt hits it hard on the line the other way into left field to the base hit. Farrell racing around third. He'll come in to score. RBI single, Gavin Shildt. And now a 6-2 game here in the 6th.
That's all the Padres scored in the bottom half of the 6th inning. Let's go to the 7th inning. Parker still on the mound. Jake Cronenworth led off.
Cronenworth leads off, swings to the first pitch, sends it high and deep to right center. Lyle is back. This one gonna go over the little wall in right center field. And Jake Cronenworth hits his 6th home run of the season. We've got ourselves a 3-run game here in the 7th.
First pitch ambush job by Crone. And he goes to the big part of the yard. Right center, chooses the little wall. Padres cut the lead in half on the solo shot from Jake Cronenworth.
That's all the Padres scored in the bottom half of the 7th inning. In the 8th, the Nationals struck back.
1-0. Matsui looks at Abrams, the trail runner. Now the pitch. Wood swings, hits it in the air, deep down the right field line. Did he keep it fair? Yes, he did. A home run. Oh, Gabe Morales, the first base umpire, initially said foul. And then he changed his mind, pointed fair, and it's a 3-run homer for Wood. 22nd of the season, and the Nationals lead is 9-3.
Josh Bell hit a solo home run in the top of the 9th to make it 10-3. In the bottom half of the 9th inning, Fernando Tatis Jr. got the Padres a little bit closer.
2-0 to Tatis with men on second and third, 2 outs. San Fernando swings, hits it in the air to deep left center. Young is back into the gap, looking up. It's going to go! Long 3-run homer for Fernando Tatis Jr. Went deep on Saturday, now again here on Monday night, and it's a 10-6 game.
I guess 4th time's a charm.
But that's as close as the Padres would get last night. Final score in the series opener here at Petco Park. The Nationals 10 and the Padres 6. And that sets up the middle game of this 3-game set with first pitch coming up at 6:40. Let's go inside the Jerry Coleman Broadcast Center.
Let's take a trip up to the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup with Tony Gwynn Jr. in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Well, Tony, before we talk anything Padres related, I did want to check in with you about a press conference you were just at a little while ago on the Tony Gwynn Terrace inside Gallagher Square here at Petco Park. The Perfect Game All-American Classic is taking place in August 17th to be exact, here at Petco Park, and that is always a great event highlighting the great high school players across the country. That should be pretty cool. How was the press conference?
It was great. I mean, I think, when you get a chance to be around young guys like Gavin Feen, one of the top third basemen in the country, and you've had your cycles come through here. You've gotten a chance to see guys who are now in the big league level. I mean, shoot, the Nationals have about 5 or 6 guys that were featured. Jackson was one of those guys on the Padres side. Yeah. And I think what's really cool about it is it gets back to a place where I think, I think you could call it the mecca of baseball in terms of youth is concerned. And you get a chance to do it on a big league field. And I think it prepares these guys for many of them what's going to be a part of their journey.
Yeah, really, really cool. And we'll talk about it a little bit later in the summer, highlight what's going on in August with that All-American Classic game. Should be a lot of fun here at Petco Park in August. Talking about today's game between the Padres and the Nationals, game 2 of this 3-game series. Ryan Bergert on the mound for the Padres today. And Tony, it continues to really seem, and I think Jesse's the one who said this to me a handful of weeks ago, it continues to seem like Ryan Bergert just belongs on this level, and he certainly continued to prove that in that last outing in LA.
Yeah, it's quickly becoming a place where we're starting to see some young pitchers develop. I mean,
yeah.
I think we saw the likes of Vasquez and Waldron. We've continued to see Vasquez this year. Yeah, Bergert to the list. Yeah, Stephen Kolek to the list. Padres are starting to develop some young guys, but Ryan Bergert in particular has been extremely impressive. I mean, the starts that he have not been walk in the park. I think his first one was against the next one came in Milwaukee. He hasn't really had a cupcake start, if you will, at all. Yet he's performed like a guy that's been in the big leagues in the show for a long time. And I think the next step for him, I think he's shown he can get through 5. I think he's got to be able to earn the trust of the staff to get a little bit deeper. And it feels like he's on the cusp of that.
And Tony, it seems like he's poised, right? Like very in command out there. Look, that's a hard environment in LA, in that rivalry, in that big stadium in LA. He seems really poised in a lot of these moments.
I think the thing that stood out to me was his first start in San Francisco. The second or third inning, it kind of started to unravel on him. But he didn't blink, man. He got back on the right course, was able to get through 5+ in that game. And it was just impressive because for a lot of young pitchers, when it starts to unravel like that, it's a complete snowball. It turns into an avalanche. He was able to stop that, and he's done that really in each of his couple of starts. He wasn't in a lot of trouble in that Dodger start, but the first 2 he got himself into some, but was able to get himself out. And I think Mike Shildt said today he's shown some moxie in his early starts as a big leaguer.
On the other side of this pitching matchup, Trevor Williams on the mound for Washington from San Diego. We'll talk more about Williams coming up a little bit later. Tony, I want to focus on the offense for a moment because yesterday was an interesting game. They scored 6 runs. They had 3 home runs, the Padres did. They hit the ball really, really hard yesterday, but they lost the game. What did you think about the quality of at-bat and contact yesterday for the offense?
That was the best we've seen since the 14-3 start.
Wow.
Believe that. 21 balls hit over 95 miles per hour. There was at least, I think, 9 over 100. And that's up and down the lineup. That wasn't 1, 2, or 3 guys. That was everybody going 1 through 9, really putting together solid at-bats, but also stinging the baseball. It just so happened that a lot of them were right at people, whereas the Nationals, they found outfield grass or outfield pole in some cases. So I just think that was one of the probably better games the Nationals have played from an offensive standpoint this year. I thought the Padres just had really some bad luck, but I am encouraged by the type of at-bats we saw yesterday and really the way they hit the ball yesterday, just with no love to show for it.
Tony, squeeze in one more here. Obviously, big days yesterday for C.J. Abrams and James Wood at the top of the lineup. And look, it's an interesting scenario with those guys back here. It's not the first time we've seen C.J. It is the first time we've seen James Wood here in San Diego. How do you view that whole scenario with those guys coming back playing the way they did, considering the context they're playing in with the Soto trade and all of it?
I think it's revisionist history, personally. I mean, I don't think you're looking at this trade from a clear eye if you're looking at it any other way. Yes, those guys combined for 6 hits, some runs, some RBIs, but, you don't get to experience a lot of the things that I think a lot of San Diegans have kind of stored in their memory bank. I think we have a theme song now with Blink-182 that I don't think would be in the position it's in without that playoff game against the Dodgers, which, by the way, had a guy named Juan Soto on that roster as the Padres marched all the way to an NLCS. And they've been competing to get into the playoffs, or they've been in the playoffs since that deal has been made. And so what remains to be seen this year, this Padre team from that trade has been able to have a guy like Dylan Cease, had a guy like Kyle Gashioka last year. They've been able to reap the benefits of Michael King and Randy Vasquez. So yeah, I just think you're very short-sighted if that is kind of where you have fallen on this.
Yeah, I said yesterday on the post game that I think I could count the number of people on one hand that at the time had any issue with the Padres making that trade. And bottom line is this: no matter how the Nationals got Abrams and Wood, Padres got to do a better job against them tonight, because those guys were really, really good in yesterday's game. All right, Tony, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
No problem, Sam. Take care.
All right, Tony Gwynn Jr. joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for today's game. First pitch coming up at 6:40 between the Padres and the Nationals. When we come back, we hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Plus, a little bit later, we hear from today's starting pitcher Ryan Bergert. Much, much more to do on our pregame coverage. We continue after these words on the Padres Radio Network.
Stay tuned to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pre.
EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 6:40 between the Padres and the Nationals. Padres dropping the series opener yesterday here in downtown San Diego, and today they try to bounce back with right-hander Ryan Bergert on the mound. Taking a look at the Padres starting lineup today: Fernando Tatis Jr. in right field leading off, Jackson Merrill in center batting second, Manny Machado at third base batting third, Luis Arraez the first baseman batting cleanup, Gavin Sheets in left field batting fifth, Xander Bogaerts the DH batting sixth, Jake Cronenworth at second base batting seventh, Jose Iglesias the shortstop batting eighth, and Martin Maldonado doing the catching and batting ninth, with Bergert on the mound, right-hander Trevor Williams on the mound for the Nationals. Let's hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. We talk about today's starting pitcher Ryan Bergert, the Padres lineup, and also get the latest on Yu Darvish and Michael King.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt, served up by Sin Lee Food, where fresh meets flavor. Find farm fresh produce, bold Asian spices, and gourmet ingredients at 4665 El Cajon Boulevard. Sin Lee Food, the cook's Asian resource.
Mike, can you give us an update on Michael King, where he's at after that throwing session? Was it yesterday?
Yeah. Don't want to create too much optimism, but there is some optimism. I want to temper it. But Michael had a really good day yesterday. Threw out to 105 feet, had control of where the ball was going, which he just hasn't had. Didn't have to overcompensate to try to force it to get anywhere. More of a natural throw for him. The intensity wasn't very high, but the good news is his arm was working and moving forward, and he was able to kind of feel the baseball. And so it was a good first step.
How does he feel today? Because you always talk about how important the recovery is, almost more than the act itself.
Yeah, recovery is important, and I haven't had a chance to touch base with him on how he feels today. But I'll let you know as soon as I know something.
How about you, Darvish? Was he scheduled to do something here tomorrow, is it?
Tomorrow he's going to throw a simulated game, and anybody want to hazard a guess as to where it's going to be?
Say Point Loma.
USD, I'll tell you where USD. Great location, wonderful school.
I'd say Peoria, Arizona.
We have a Peoria.
I was going to say
Again, another reasonably good guess, but not. We have a Petco Park, which is very obvious, but nope, not here.
Rancho Bernardo High School.
Close. It was in the final three. Yeah, but didn't make it.
an undisclosed location under the mountain in Colorado.
It's a Padre affiliate.
So no Toro Stadium in Tijuana?
What's that?
Not in the Toro Stadium in Tijuana?
It's not going to be in Tijuana. There was a bid. Didn't make it. Lake Elsinore.
Wait, you said rehab or a sim game?
Sim game. 2 to 3 innings, depending on how he feels. But, yeah, it'll be tomorrow at Lake E around undisclosed time for you folks.
Where does that put him then? Like, if all goes well there?
Well, it's a good question, AJ. It puts him in what we think to be in a pretty good spot, in the sense of, like, if he can get through 2 to 3 innings and then recover, now we're getting closer to something, back to a progression that gets him here. That's sincere. But again, tomorrow still has to take place, and then again the recovery is essential.
I had a sim game in Lake Elsinore as opposed to just pitching for Lake Elsinore.
The hitters, yeah. I mean, he's going to be able to go like he's in town, and he's going to get down there in a controlled environment, an affiliate with hitters, and just a good setup for us that's closer than Arizona, and we got a day game, so.
So why not just like a regular rehab game then? Is it because you want the control
environment? Yeah, I mean, the thing about rehabs, they can be wonderful because another jersey's taking place, umpires the whole shooting match. But the fact of the matter is, if somebody puts together a long at bat, or guys don't play clean, or something happens, and he's trying to get to a certain pitch count, but he's in a high pitch count in that inning, he can't go back out, finish in the bullpen. Just the controlled environment makes the most sense.
Ryan Bergert on the mound once again today. Obviously, the results have been really good for him so far in this starting role. What continues to stand out about his body of work?
Bergert's been great. He really has. We talk about consistency, commanding of the baseball. It's important for everybody. He's also shown some moxie, so he's been able to be into some really tough environments already, and go pitch and execute well emotionally and physically, and look forward to seeing him pitch tonight.
He talked the other day about just the ability to trust his stuff and kind of the impact that the staff here has had on him in that sense. Generally with a young player, and I guess more specifically a pitcher, how important is just that aspect of it, trusting their stuff, their ability?
Yeah, it's essential. Like I said, you get into this environment at any level you go to the next level, you're going to kind of like, okay, where does my stuff play? Where's my ability play? So there can be some apprehension in that, so you don't as aggressive with what you actually have, and it's either good enough or it's not, and it is, in this case, it's plenty good enough. And you mentioned the staff. I mean, we do our part to encourage, to be aggressive, trust your stuff, but that's, it's only as good as the player actually being able to go and do it and having the mental ability to do it and trusting the physical part. But that's what this is about. It's really about going out there in a big stage and going to keep your focus and executing with your ability. And again, it's either good enough or it's not. In his case, it's plenty good enough.
A couple of days ago, you made the lineup change, moving Luis down to the cleanup spot, and he's talked about, whatever it takes to win, he'll bat wherever he needs to, and you've talked about the magic wand he has. How nice is it to have a guy in Luis who not only has that magic wand in his hands, but also is willing to do whatever?
Really successful playoff caliber and definite World Series caliber teams have players that are open and willing to have a conversation, share their thoughts, which I very much welcome, and then be willing to do things. Now, in Luis's case, he's willing to do it, period, whatever it takes. And so that's very healthy for us to be able to have those conversations and our group be willing to know that you're not going to ever get everything that you want. And this matter is not about Lou wanting his second or fourth. That's really not. But, big picture, that's what this looks like, is a willingness to do what the team needs. And, everybody wants to hit, second, third, or fourth. Everybody wants to be the number one pitcher. Everybody wants to be the closer. Everybody wants to be an everyday player. But in the reality in a team, only so many people get to do those things, and being accepting of the role that you're actually in and executing with a good attitude is really important.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt earlier today inside the Padres dugout. We'll hear more from Mike on our post-game coverage coming up later on this evening. Sam Levitt back with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. Let's quickly pause for station identification on the Padres radio network.
KWFN and KWFN HD1 San Diego.
Hey, what's up? This is Jason Adam. You're listening to Padres Baseball on the Padres Radio Network.
And Odyssey Sports Station.
First pitch coming up at 6:40, game 2 of this 3-game set between the Padres and the Nationals. Let's tell you who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to kick things up another notch? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not on the Padres Radio Network.
Let's begin with a few players in the hot category. Gavin Sheets with a couple of hits last night in the midst of a career-high 14-game on-base streak. He's batting .327 with a .383 on-base percentage during that span. Luis Arraez also in the midst of a 10-game hitting streak, batting .311 during that span. Jackson Merrill going back to before his stint on the concussion IL. He now has a 7-game hitting streak and is batting .390 with a .452 on-base percentage in that span. Of the 7 balls Merrill has put in play in his 2 games since coming off the IL, 5 of them have had an exit velocity of at least 100.4 miles per hour. So simply, Merrill has come off the IL and he's hitting the ball very hard. As far as the not category, Martin Maldonado in the number 9 spot doing the catching. He is just 2 for his last 13. And that's a look at who's hot, who's not as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 6:40. Let's take a look at some Major League headlines as we go around the horn.
Let's examine the most important news and the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball. Sam Levitt takes you around the horn. Presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Get ready for Major League winning when you join Valley View Casino and Hotel's Players Club and receive over $200 in free instant offers. Visit valleyviewcasino.com to learn more today.
Well, the White Sox signed former All-Star pitcher Noah Syndergaard. Yes, Noah Syndergaard. Remember him? They signed him to a minor league deal today. The 32-year-old has not pitched in the majors since 2023. Syndergaard was supposed to be in the Mets alumni game later this summer, and now he's going to be in the minor leagues again. So the White Sox signing Noah Syndergaard to a minor league deal. Okay. Sean Manaea's return to the Mets has been delayed by a loose body in his elbow. Manaea hasn't pitched for the Mets yet this year. He's dealt with an oblique strain going back to spring training. Mets president of baseball operations David Stern said the discovery of the loose body shouldn't delay Manaea's return for all that long. He got a cortisone shot and should resume throwing in the next 2 or 3 days. Whit Merrifield is retiring after a 9-season career that included twice leading the majors in hits and 3 trips to the All-Star game. And some bad news in Arizona. They continue to deal with major injuries. Corbin Carroll, it was announced, suffered a chip fracture in his left wrist after he was hit by a pitch in Toronto last week. There is no specific timetable for how long it will take Carroll to return. And that's a look at some headlines from around the major leagues as we get ready for this one on a beautiful Tuesday evening here in downtown San Diego. When we come back, we tell you about one Washington National that had to go on the IL, unfortunately, today. We'll also give you our keys to the game. Plus, we hear from Luis Arraez and today's starting pitcher, Ryan Bergert. First pitch coming up at 6:40 right here on the Padres Radio Network.
Hello, my friends. It's Woodsy. Did you know your
Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 6:40 for Game 2 of this three-game set between the Padres and the Nationals. Ryan Bergert on the mound today for the Padres. We'll hear from him coming up in a little while, and we'll hear from Luis Arraez in a moment as well. First, let's tell you about one National that is going on the IL.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit him up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
Well, Nationals catcher Keibert Ruiz left yesterday's game after a really scary moment. Unfortunately, a foul ball from Josh Bell hit him on the head in the dugout. A CT scan revealed the lump on the right side of his head. Ruiz went on the 10-day IL earlier today with a head contusion. The Nationals recalling Drew Millis from AAA. So unfortunate. It's kind of a freak accident there with Ruiz getting hit by a foul ball in the dugout. He will go on the 10-day IL. And that's a look at who's in, who's out. Unfortunately, Ruiz will now miss the rest of this series after starting yesterday's game. Well, as we've talked about, the Padres made a lineup change a couple of days ago, moving Luis Arraez down to the cleanup spot. Jackson Merrill, in his return from the IL, into the number 2 spot in the lineup. Here was Luis talking about, or I should say, when he was asked if he has to change any of his mindset at the plate now that he's hitting cleanup.
I don't have to change anything. I just go there and then try to put one play. If I got running a score positioning, if I got hit, I got RBI. So I just try to help the team win, and then let's see what happens if I like it. But I don't care. I'm in the line now.
Presumably hitting fourth, you will get more of those opportunities.
Yes, I got a lot of more opportunities, but I got Manny and then Jackson from me, and then they hit homers. I don't know. I don't know if they get double, single, and then I can drive them home.
Luis, 26 games in 27 days, almost over. You've been out there almost every day, first base. What does it take to get through a stretch like that, and how have these last 4 weeks been?
I'm a blessed man because I'm a healthy, and then I play every day, and then Mike give me the opportunity to play every day there, and then I'm enjoying, man. I'm enjoying.
That was Luis Arraez inside the Padres clubhouse talking about hitting cleanup. And as always, Luis, a very good perspective on things. Luis back in that cleanup spot here today for the Padres as they try to bounce back after losing last night's series opener to the Nationals. So it begs the question, how do the Padres bounce back here tonight? Let's tell you how.
How will the Padres unlock a win today? These are the keys to the game. Presented by El Centro Motors Ford. Meet your new Ford General Manager, Greg Ryan, now at El Centro Motors Ford, your new Ford truck, Bronco, and SUV HQ. Call Greg directly at 619-944-0774.
Key number one, don't think about what could have been. Just get them out. C.J. Abrams and James Wood, two former Padres prospects. They were outstanding last night at the very top of the national lineup. Abrams had 3 hits, including 3 runs scored. Wood had 3 hits, a home run, 4 RBIs, and 3 runs scored. Wood is hitting .353 with a .765 slugging percentage in his last 13 games, 6 home runs, 16 RBIs in that span. Abrams is also red hot. He's batting .368 with 7 extra base hits in his last 14 games, 17 runs scored, 5 stolen bases, and 3 home runs in that span. Don't forget about the guy behind him, Luis Garcia Jr. He's batting .347 with 7 extra base hits, 9 RBIs during a 12-game hitting streak. So you look at the very top of the lineup for Washington today. Guess who? Abrams, Wood, and Garcia. Got to get those guys out. We talked about it last night. Not only those guys, but the first 6 hitters in the Nationals lineup yesterday had multi-hit games. Padres have to do a better job against Abrams, against Wood, and against the top half of that Nationals lineup. Key number 2, more Merrill. Jackson Merrill has 3 hits in 2 games since coming off the IL. He was also a few inches away from a home run on Sunday. More Jackson Merrill continuing to hit the ball hard off the IL. And speaking of hitting the ball hard, that's key number 3. Keep hitting it hard. Padres put 12 balls in play at 100 miles per hour or greater last night. That was tied for their second most this season. They also hit 3 home runs last night, the most they've hit in a game since May 25th, almost a month ago. So the Padres hit it hard last night, and they hit home runs. If you really want to just think about it from a purely offensive output standpoint, they did enough to win the game yesterday. 6 runs scored, 3 home runs. They hit the ball really hard, but they lost the game 10-6. But again, just keep hitting it hard. You keep doing that, good things are going to happen, and that's a look at our keys to Game 2 of this 3-game series against the Nationals. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
We have a number of games going on right now. Rangers and the Orioles tied at 5 in the 8th inning in Baltimore. Tigers ahead of the A's 7-4 in Detroit in the 5th inning. The Blue Jays lead the Guardians 10-4 in Cleveland in the 8th inning. The Mets had a 3-0 lead on the Braves. Braves scoring 5 runs in the 6th inning to jump ahead 5-3. Mets have lost 9 of 10. They lost yesterday to Atlanta, so the Mets trying to bounce back. Yankees and the Reds tied at 3 in Cincinnati in the 8th inning. Diamondbacks and White Sox tied at 1 in the 6th inning in Chicago. A note on that Reds and Yankees game, very, very highly touted right-hander Chase Burns made his major league debut in that game for Cincinnati. Chase Burns struck out the first 5 batters of his major league career, including Aaron Judge. So good game there, 3-3. We'll have more on that coming up later on in our post-game coverage. Brewers leading the Pirates 7-3 in the 6th inning in Milwaukee. Mariners and the Twins tied at 5 in Minnesota in the 6th inning. Rays 4, Royals nothing in Kansas City in the 7th. Cardinals lead the Cubs 8-5 in St. Louis in the 5th inning. Phillies and the Astros are scoreless in the 5th in Houston. Rockies ahead of the Dodgers in Colorado 1-0 in the 3rd. Couple of games yet to begin aside from this one. Red Sox and the Angels in Anaheim at 6:38. Garrett Crochet on the mound for the Red Sox. Marlins and the Giants in San Francisco at 6:45. Justin Verlander on the mound for San Francisco. And that is a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Tuesday evening. When we return, we hear from today's starting pitcher, Ryan Bergert. We also tell you about one guy to watch in the Padres lineup today. Much, much more to do. First pitch coming up at 6:40 from Petco Park on the Padres Radio Network.
Company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for in Game 2 of this 3-game series. Can Xander Bogaerts get it going here today? And look, that's a little harsh, actually, to be honest with you. He's been really good as of late. What I mean by get it going is he took an 0 for yesterday. He did have a walk. He did have that big double in the 9th inning on Sunday to help propel the Padres to a win. Xander's been really good lately. His last 9 games, he's batting .361 with 6 extra base hits. That was coming off a previous stretch of 42 at-bats where he had just 6 hits. He hit 143 in that span. The point being, can Xander get back in the action today after going hitless yesterday? Because before yesterday, he had been really, really productive at the plate. What is Xander Bogaerts going to do today out of the number 6 spot? Xander also DHing, a day off his feet at shortstop. What does Xander do today? That's what to watch for in the middle game of this 3-game series. Well, Ryan Bergert on the mound for the Padres. We'll talk plenty about Bergert in just a second, talk about the specifics from that last start in Los Angeles, but he was really good in L.A., didn't give up any runs in a hostile environment at Dodger Stadium. Here was Ryan Bergert on that last start in L.A.
Well, I just kind of went out there and tried to make this situation bigger than it was. Honestly, I wish I would have went a little bit deeper in the game, but, the situation called for bringing a lefty in with a Ohtani coming up with 2 guys on. But, just kind of staying true to myself and not trying to make the situation too big.
It's been an interesting season for Ryan Bergert in a good way. He came up as a reliever initially to the major leagues. Then he went back down to AAA El Paso, was starting again, then came back up as a starting pitcher and pushed into the rotation for the Padres. Here was Ryan Bergert on the adjustments he's had to make in his various roles so far this season.
First off, going to the bullpen, it was definitely an adjustment. Usually I got like a few hours before the game to get ready and get prepared, and in the bullpen, you got to kind of stay ready from pitch 1 of the game, especially in the role that I was given in the bullpen, kind of like the longer guy. Just trying to stay ready out there, and then turn into a starter here. It's really just the amount of preparation, going deep in depth and scouting reports, trying to find ways to get through the lineup the second and third time through is probably the biggest adjustment for sure.
We've talked about this young group of pitchers that has been really good as of late, filling in for guys like Darvish and King. Ryan Bergert, one of those guys. Stephen Kolek, one of those guys. Certainly Randy Vasquez has been very, very good at times this year. Had a great start against Kansas City on Sunday. Bottom line, those guys are doing a real nice job of filling in for guys like Darvish and King. Here was Ryan Bergert on the collective mindset of that young group as they fill in for guys on the IL.
Really just here to help out the team and, eat innings with some of the big names that aren't able to pitch right now. Kind of just try to hold the ship down while we can. And it's been really fun because, we've all been having some pretty good success and been fun watching each other go out and pitch.
And finally, here was Ryan Bergert on working with Padres pitching coach Ruben Niebla.
Yeah, he's been great. He's definitely given me a lot of advice, but the main thing is he's telling me to just trust my stuff, The results have been good, but trust my stuff in the zone, and that kind of just reminded me that I kind of control my own destiny and that my stuff's good enough to play at this level.
That was Padres starting pitcher Ryan Bergert. He makes another start here tonight. His first in a while, really his first ever start here at Petco Park. Let me tell you a little bit more about Bergert and what he's been doing and what he's doing here tonight as we take a look at our starting pitching matchup.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview on the Padres Radio Network.
The 25-year-old rookie Ryan Bergert on the mound for the Padres. So far this season, he's been really good. 1-0, a 1.88 ERA in 4 appearances out of the bullpen. 4 starts to go along with those 4 appearances out of the pen. A grand total of 24 innings, 19 strikeouts. He's walked 9, and he's held opponents to a 169 batting average. Very, very impressive. In the 4 starts so far, a 2.25 ERA in 20 innings. He's only given up 13 hits. His last start against the Dodgers, he went 4 2/3 scoreless innings, allowed 3 hits. Don't be fooled by the inning number. They took him out because they didn't want him to see Ohtani for a 3rd time, but he was really, really effective in LA. Really nice start for Ryan Bergert. And amazingly, this will be just his 2nd appearance at home. He made his major league debut here in late April, but since then, 7 consecutive outings on the road. So Ryan Bergert, welcome home. Meanwhile, on the mound for the Nationals, right-hander Trevor Williams, 33 years old, He went to Rancho Bernardo High School, now in his third season with the Nats. He's 3-8, a 5.54 ERA in 15 starts so far this season, 74 2/3 innings, 58 strikeouts to 18 walks. His last start in Colorado, he went 5 innings and a third, 2 earned runs given up on 8 hits. His last 3 starts overall pretty good, 3.60 ERA in 15 innings. He has a career 4.91 ERA in 5 outings against the Padres. In his time in the major leagues, 2 career starts at Petco Park, a 5.40 ERA in this building. However, it's been a long time since he's made a start in his hometown of San Diego. Last started here in May of 2019. In one matchup to watch against Williams tonight, Luis Arraez is 7 for 18 with a home run against Williams in his career. And that's a look at our starting pitching matchup. Trevor Williams on the mound for the Nationals, and for the Padres, the young right-hander Ryan Bergert. As always, thank you for listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Your water should be perfect. Well, the Padres losing yesterday, a tough one. The final score, Nationals 10 and the Padres 6. Padres trying to bounce back here today. A series I'm sure they would really like to win, and we'll see if they can get it done on what is an absolutely gorgeous Tuesday evening here in downtown San Diego. When we come back, it's Jesse Agler and Tony Gwynn Jr. They have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. I'll talk to you on our post-game coverage. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network. Enjoy the game, everybody.